My name is Valentine, I'm a software developer, and I like to share my passion for APIs with others in a way that is easy to understand. When I'm not speaking at a conference or traveling the world, I like to share what I know by creating short tutorials and online courses like this one. In this course, you will understand what Postman is and why do we need this tool. Start using Postman to interact with APIs and write API tests. In the last part of the course, we'll explore ways to automate the entire testing process. You will get hands-on experience using an API. Throughout the course, I'll give you assignments as a way to practice what you have learned. If you are serious about API testing, you need to practice on your own. Make sure you check the video description for the course notes. I'll be putting there the most important steps you need to take, links to resources, any updates, just in case something has changed. So let's get started. Before we get our hands dirty, let's make sure we understand the basics. If you're new to APIs, here is a very quick introduction. An API is essentially an interface to a server that has some data or does some actions. To understand the concept of an interface, think about any power outlet you have in your home. It does not matter which device you want to power, your laptop, a washing machine, or a TV. The outlet on the wall is designed to accept any plug following a predefined specification. An interface is essentially a contract. I live here in Europe, so all sockets have a specific form. If I bring a device from the United States or Australia, this will not work as they have a different interface. The APIs we are dealing with share a similar concept. To use an API, we need to know and follow the specification. If you are totally new to APIs, I do recommend watching another course here at Free Code Camp, created by Craig Dennis, to get the basics of APIs right. I think the best way to understand APIs is by actually using them. Let's get back to Postman. Postman is a tool for interacting with web-based APIs. That is, APIs that work over the internet. An API is like an outlet that a server offers, and instead of electricity, we get data. We use Postman to plug into this outlet, but instead of using a physical cable, we use the internet. Postman can help us connect to that API and make sure that the process of sending and receiving data is much easier. Without that interface to the server, it would be much harder to communicate. So this is why we need Postman.
In this lesson, we'll learn how to install Postman. Postman uses a freemium pricing model, and for many use cases, including this course, it is free to use. There are two ways of running Postman: in your browser by going to postman.com, or as a standalone app that you have to download and install. There is also an old and deprecated Google Chrome extension. Don't use that one. I'll be using the browser application throughout this tutorial, but the app's functionality is very similar. You will find installation instructions in the course notes. I'll go to postman.com and sign up for an account. The setup after this is relatively easy, and I will not create a team yet. This is it. Postman is actively developed. By the time I have finished recording, editing, and publishing this course, a new version will be released. You may notice slight differences from what you see right now in this video. However, I can reassure you that the principles stay the same. I will update the course notes if there's something really important you need to know. The first thing that I like to do when opening Postman for the first time is changing to the black theme. So in order to do that, simply locate this gear icon. This will take us to the settings. And from the tab with themes, I'll select the black theme and simply close this. So let's go ahead and start using an API in Postman. For this course, we'll be using an API that allows us to order a book. Now, every time we want to start using an API, we need to understand how to interact with that API. And the best way to start is always by looking at the API documentation. Now, any API out there that you want to use should have an API documentation that explains you how to use that API, explains what's available, and so on. The API that we'll be using allows us to have a look at a list of books and to order a book. So, right from the API documentation that you see here, and that will be linked in the course notes, you'll be able to see that the API is available at this specific address. And additionally, there are some endpoints that we can use. Endpoints offer different kind of responses, and we're going to take a look at them. The first endpoint that we should look into is the status endpoint. So what I'm going to do is simply copy the address of the API. And here inside Postman, from the workspaces, I will select my workspace. Workspaces in Postman allow you to organize your work better. Let me make this a bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new tab. And this looks pretty much similar to what you have in a browser. It's just a bit more advanced. I'm going to paste here the address. And after it, I'm going to write status.